Nari stared out the viewport as her transport ship approached Earth, her heart sinking at the sight of the blue-green planet below. The third child of a prestigious Taken scientist family, she had spent her entire life preparing for a brilliant, academic career. Now all her plans were in ruins. Ambassador's daughter or not, this assignment is a waste of your talents, her father had told her when the orders came. Earth is in the cursed galaxy for good reason. The cursed galaxy. That's what most advanced species called this spiral arm of stars. Plagued by cosmic radiation, unstable stellar patterns, and harsh planetary conditions, it had produced something unexpected: humans. A species that somehow thrived on chaos and uncertainty. Nari's silver fingers tapped nervously on the datapad containing her briefing materials. The message from Director Doyen was clear. Under no circumstances are you to display your full intellectual capabilities at the human institution. Our diplomatic relations are fragile. They must perceive themselves as equals or superiors. In other words, she had to pretend to be dumber than she was. The humiliation burned inside her. The ship docked with a jolt that made Nari's antennae twitch in irritation. As the airlock hissed open, a blast of unfamiliar scents hit her. Biological compounds, synthetic materials, and something else. Food cooking? In a learning institution? Welcome to Earth. A short human with a wide smile waited at the entrance. I'm Administrator Kim. You must be Nari. We're delighted to have our first Tekken student at Global Interspecies Academy. Nari bowed precisely, hiding her distaste. The honor is mine, she lied smoothly. Administrator Kim led her through corridors filled with students rushing in all directions. Unlike the silent precision of Tekken education centers, this place was loud. Students called to each other, laughed, argued. Some even sat on the floor reading or talking in small groups. This is unusual, Nari said carefully. Oh? How so? Kim asked. On Tekka, learning is conducted in ordered silence. Students move between activities at designated times. There appears to be no such structure here. Kim laughed. Humans believe some disorder encourages creativity. You'll get used to it. Nari doubted that very much. Her dormitory room was equally shocking, small, with simple furniture and primitive technology. A desk terminal looked at least 3 generations behind Tekken standards. Your roommate should arrive shortly, Kim said before leaving. Alone, Nari finally allowed her frustration to show. She paced the small room, antennae flat against her head. This was worse than she had imagined. How could anyone learn in such conditions? The door burst open and a human female stumbled in carrying too many bags. Hi, I'm Hana. You must be my alien roommate. The human dropped her bags and extended a hand. After an awkward moment, she withdrew it. Sorry, I forgot Tekkens don't shake hands. Nari nodded stiffly. I am Nari, 3rd scholar of the House of Yoon. Cool. I'm just Hana from Busan. The human grinned. First-year astrobiology student, what's your field? I hold advanced degrees in quantum mechanics, xenobiology, and linguistic theory, Nari replied automatically. Hana's eyes widened. Wow. Then why are you in undergraduate courses? Nari froze. Director Doyun's warning echoed in her mind. I'm here to learn human educational methods. My previous studies were different. That makes sense, Hana nodded. Different planets, different approaches. You'll probably find our classes super easy then, if only you knew, Nari thought. That evening, all new students gathered in the central hall. Nari sat rigidly, while humans and other aliens chatted around her. President Lee gave a speech about cross-species understanding and the unique perspective each civilization brings to the galactic community. When a professor demonstrated Earth's current understanding of dimensional physics, theories Tekken children mastered before puberty, Nari had to physically bite her tongue to keep from correcting him. Later in their room, Hana noticed Nari's distress. Rough first day? It is challenging to adjust, Nari admitted. Don't worry. Everyone feels out of place at first, Hana said kindly. Even us humans. As Nari prepared for sleep, she reviewed her predicament. She was trapped on a primitive planet, surrounded by intellectually inferior beings, forced to pretend she knew less than she did, all to satisfy some diplomatic requirement. "Computer, message to Director Doyen," she whispered when Hana was asleep. "First-day observations. Humans are louder and more chaotic than expected. Their technology is primitive, their educational methods inefficient, but—" She hesitated, remembering Hana's kindness. "They seem genuinely interested in other species. This assignment will be more difficult than anticipated. I fear I must dumb up considerably to avoid diplomatic incidents." She ended the message and stared at the ceiling, wondering how she would survive a full academic year in the cursed galaxy. Nari woke to the sound of Hana's alarm blaring an upbeat song. On Tekka, students rose to soft harmonic tones designed to optimize brain function. This human music made her sensitive antennae vibrate uncomfortably. "Morning," Hana said cheerfully. "Ready for your first real day of classes?" "I have been prepared for educational pursuits since early development," Nari replied, carefully folding her sleep garment. "That wasn't what I asked, but okay." Hana laughed. "The cafeteria has special food stations for all species. Want to go together?" Nari hesitated. She had planned to review Earth's scientific literature before class, but something about Hana's friendly manner made her reconsider. That would be acceptable. The cafeteria was another shock to Nari's system. Hundreds of students from dozens of species gathered around tables, eating, talking, and studying simultaneously. The noise level made her want to retreat. "The Tekkan station is over there," Hana pointed. "I'll meet you at that table by the window." Nari collected her nutrient paste and sat down stiffly across from Hana, who was eating something colorful and messy. "What is your primary area of study?" Nari asked, attempting conversation. "Astrobiology with a focus on adaptable ecosystems," Hana replied between bites. "I want to help design habitats for multi-species colonies." "A practical application?" Nari nodded. Perhaps not all humans were completely primitive. Their first class was advanced physics. Nari had reviewed the syllabus and found it laughably basic. As they entered the laboratory, a tall human male approached them. "You must be our Tekkan exchange student. I'm Professor Jinwoo Park. Welcome to Earth Science." "Thank you, Professor," Nari said flatly. The professor began by explaining a demonstration involving particle interaction. Nari could barely contain herself as he made a fundamental error in his explanation. "Excuse me," she interrupted before she could stop herself. "Your calculation fails to account for quantum fluctuations in an oxygen-rich atmosphere." The room went silent. Professor Park blinked in surprise. That's actually an excellent point. How did you know that?" Nari's antennae flattened in alarm as she remembered her instructions. "It is common knowledge on Tekka." "Common knowledge?" Professor Park looked impressed. "Well, our common knowledge needs updating then. Class, this is why interspecies education is so valuable." The other students stared at Nari with new interest. She could feel their eyes on her silver skin and wished she could disappear. After class, a tall blue alien approached her in the hallway. "I am Tejo of the Moro Collective," he introduced himself. "That was impressive what you did in class." "It was nothing," Nari said uncomfortably. "A word of advice," Taijo's voice lowered. "Humans are strange creatures. They claim to want intellectual exchange, but they are surprisingly emotional when their knowledge is challenged. Be careful." Before Nari could respond, Taijo glided away. That afternoon, the engineering class was divided into teams for a project. Nari found herself working with Hana and two other students, a human male named Jun and another alien called Suk. Their task was to build a device that could transmit data through 3 different mediums simultaneously. On Tekka, Nari had designed similar systems years ago. "We should create a triple-phase converter with modulating frequencies," she suggested, but kept her explanation deliberately simple. Jun shook his head. "Too complicated. Let's try something different. He grabbed random components and began connecting them with no apparent plan. That will never work, Nari said, horrified. Maybe, maybe not, June shrugged. But sometimes the best discoveries come from mistakes. To Nari's astonishment, their chaotic approach actually produced results. When their improvised device successfully transmitted data, June high-fived everyone, including a reluctant Nari. How did you know that would work? She demanded. I didn't, June grinned, but I figured the energy patterns might resonate across the materials in ways we haven't formally discovered yet. Pure luck, Nari thought. Or was it? That night, she sent another message to Director Doyen. Humans approach problems differently than we do. They embrace disorder and unpredictability. Sometimes they fail dramatically, but sometimes they succeed in ways our methodical approach would never discover. I am beginning to wonder if there is something to learn from their chaos after all. As she prepared for sleep, Hana asked, So what do you think of Earth School so far? Nari considered carefully. It is not what I expected. Good different or bad different? Just different, Nari said, surprised to find she meant it. 3 weeks had passed since Nari arrived at Earth's Global Interspecies Academy. Despite her initial resistance, she found herself paying more attention to the humans' strange methods. In her biochemistry lab, she watched students make deliberate errors to test boundaries, something unthinkable on Tekka. Why do humans intentionally pursue incorrect paths? She asked Hana one evening. Because sometimes the wrong path leads somewhere interesting, Hana replied, stretching after hours of studying. Our history is full of accidental discoveries. Penicillin, microwave ovens, spacefold adhesive. Nari's antennae twitched thoughtfully. On Tekka, errors are considered inefficient and wasteful. But you never make mistakes? Hana raised an eyebrow. We make fewer because our methods eliminate variables, Nari said. Maybe that's why your species hasn't invented anything groundbreaking. In 50 years, Hana observed, then immediately looked embarrassed. Sorry, that was rude. Nari's silver skin darkened with emotion, but she couldn't deny the truth. Tech and advancement had slowed considerably in recent decades. The next day, a crisis erupted in the Advanced Materials Laboratory. A containment field failed, releasing unstable compounds into the air. The professor hit the alarm and emergency protocols activated. Everyone out, Professor Park shouted. The automated system will handle it. But as students evacuated, Minho, a quiet human student who rarely spoke in class, stopped at the door. The automated system won't work, he said. Those compounds will react with the neutralizing agent and make things worse. The professor looked uncertain. The protocol. I've been studying these compounds, Minho interrupted. Trust me. To Nari's shock, Professor Park did something no tech in authority would ever do. He listened to the student. What do you suggest? We need to create a cold plasma field around the leak and introduce carbon nanoparticles to absorb the compounds, Minho said. The equipment for that is in the adjacent lab, another student added. What happened next amazed Nari. Without formal orders or hierarchy, the humans organized themselves. Minho directed some students to modify equipment while others calculated the necessary parameters. Within minutes, they had assembled an improvised containment system that no one had designed before. Nari stood watching, uncertain how to help with such an unstructured approach. Nari? Hana called. We need someone who understands particle physics. The calibration is off. Hesitantly, Nari joined them. Setting aside her training, she worked with the human team, making adjustments based on observed results rather than theoretical models. When their improvised system successfully neutralized the compound, everyone cheered. That was incredible, Professor Park said afterward. You all just saved millions in equipment and prevented a 3-week decontamination process. Later, Nari asked Hana, How did you know what to do? There was no established protocol. We didn't know, Hana admitted. We figured it out together. That evening, Minho invited several students, including Nari, to the campus garden to celebrate their success. Under Earth's single moon, they shared food and stories. How did humans survive in this galaxy? Nari asked. The cosmic radiation alone should have prevented advanced life from developing. That's exactly why we're different, Minho explained. Earth was bombarded with radiation, had unstable seasons, predators, natural disasters, everything trying to kill us. Species that survive in those conditions don't succeed by following rigid rules. They adapt. Nari considered this. So chaos made you stronger? Not just stronger, Hana added. More creative, more willing to try impossible things. The next day, Nari faced her own challenge in computational design class. Their assignment was to create a learning algorithm that could identify patterns across multiple sensory inputs. Nari knew the Tekken approach, precise, methodical, and guaranteed to produce adequate results. Instead, she tried something different. She intentionally introduced random variables and let the system make mistakes, then learn from them. Her program crashed 3 times before it started working, but when it did, it identified patterns no one else's program could detect. Professor Jun examined her work with surprise. This is unconventional. Where did you learn this approach? I observed it here, Nari admitted. I decided to experiment. That night, she recorded another message to Director Doyen. I have been attempting to understand human educational methods by participating in them. Their chaotic approach sometimes fails, but when it succeeds, it produces results beyond our standard models. I am beginning to wonder if dumbing up might actually mean opening my mind to possibilities we have dismissed as inefficient. As she finished her message, Nari realized something had changed. She was no longer just observing humans. She was learning from them. The announcement came during breakfast in the crowded cafeteria. President Lee stood on a small platform, his voice amplified across the room. The Galactic Academic Council has selected our academy to host this year's interspecies scientific competition. Excited whispers spread through the room. Nari looked up from her nutrient-paced antennae, perked with interest. Each species will select one representative to compete in a series of challenges testing knowledge, problem-solving, and adaptation, President Lee continued. The winning species will receive advanced research equipment and priority access to the Galactic Library archives. Hana grabbed Nari's arm excitedly. You should represent the Tekkens. You're the smartest person I know. There will be preliminary trials to select representatives, President Lee finished. Registration begins today. Later that day, Director Doyun sent Nari an urgent message. You must participate and win. This is a perfect opportunity to demonstrate Tekken superiority. Failure is not acceptable. The preliminary trials were simple for Nari. Her perfect memory and advanced training easily surpassed the other Tekken students. When the final team was announced, she stood proudly as the Tekken representative. Hana had also been selected to represent humans. Congratulations, Minho told them both. The competition starts tomorrow with the knowledge assessment. The first challenge took place in the main auditorium. 20 representatives from different species sat at individual stations. The knowledge assessment was exactly what Nari expected. Questions covering mathematics, physics, biology, and technology. She finished first, scoring perfectly. Excellent work, Professor Park said when the scores were displayed. The Tekken and Moro representatives tied for first place. Nari felt a flash of annoyance. Tied? With Taijo? Impossible. The second challenge was different, a practical engineering problem. Each representative had to build a device that could communicate through solid rock using only the provided materials. Nari quickly designed a quantum pulse transmitter based on Tekken principles. Her hands moved with practiced precision, assembling components in the most efficient order. She finished well before time expired and sat back confidently. But when the testing began, her device failed. The signal couldn't penetrate the densest rocks. Too much interference, the judge explained. To her shock, Hana's bizarre-looking device worked perfectly. It used sound waves in unexpected frequencies, bouncing signals in patterns Nari had never considered. "How did you know that would work?" Nari asked afterward. "I didn't know for sure," Hana admitted, "but I remembered how whales communicate through water and adapted the principle." After 2 days of competition, Nari and Hana were tied for first place, with Taejo close behind. The final challenge was announced at dinner. "Tomorrow's test will combine all your skills," President Lee explained. "You will be transported to different locations in the nearby wilderness. Your goal is to reach the central meeting point using only your knowledge and the environment around you. No technology allowed." Nari felt her confidence waver. Tekkens rarely went outside controlled environments. Their physical adaptations were for precision, not wilderness survival. That night, she couldn't sleep. "I don't know how to navigate without instruments," she admitted to Hana. "You'll figure it out," Hana said. "Just remember what you've learned here. Sometimes you need to try the unexpected." The next morning, hovercrafts took the competitors to different starting points. Nari found herself alone in a dense forest. A simple map showed her destination, 10 kilometers through unfamiliar terrain. She started walking, carefully calculating the most direct path. But soon, the forest grew thicker, forcing her to detour. Hours passed, and she realized with horror that she was lost. Then she remembered how June had solved the triple-phase transmitter problem by trying something that shouldn't work. She climbed the tallest tree she could find and studied the patterns of bird flight above the canopy. Birds often followed water sources, which typically led to clearings. Following the birds, she found a stream. Walking alongside it, she discovered human footprints, probably another competitor. The footprints led to a steep cliff face that seemed impassable. Nari studied the problem, calculating forces and handholds. The Tekken approach would be to find another way around, but that would take hours she didn't have. "Sometimes the wrong path leads somewhere interesting," she heard Hana's voice in her memory. Taking a deep breath, Nari began climbing the cliff face, using techniques she had observed in the Academy's recreation center but never tried herself. Her fingers slipped, her body ached, but she kept going. When she reached the top, she saw the meeting point just 2 kilometers away. She arrived third, behind Taejo and a Zolaxian representative. As the sun set, Hana finally arrived, limping, but smiling. "What happened to you?" Nari asked. "Took a shortcut through a swamp," Hana laughed. "Not my best idea." The final scores were tallied. Taejo had won, with Nari second and Hana third. Nari felt the sting of failure. She had let down her people. "You should be proud," Hana told her. "Second place in your first Earth competition?" "Director Doyun expected victory," Nari said softly. "Sometimes learning is more important than winning," Hana replied. "What did you learn today?" Nari thought about the cliff, about trusting instinct over calculation. That sometimes the Tekken way is not the only way. The days following the competition changed something in Nari. Her second-place finish, which should have been shameful by Tekken standards, had awakened her curiosity. She found herself spending more time in the Academy's archives, searching for information about human development. One evening, while researching Earth's early space programs, she discovered an unusual reference in an ancient text. The document mentioned a species called the Sunwoo, who had visited Earth thousands of years ago. What caught her attention was the description of their genetic experiments. "The Sunwoo were here before humans evolved," she murmured to herself. Could they have? The next day, she asked Professor Park for access to the restricted archives. Her status as a competition medalist granted her special privileges. "Looking for something specific?" he asked, unlocking the secure data room. "Information about early species contact with Earth," she said carefully. The professor smiled. "Curious about your hosts? Just remember, some old records are more legend than fact." Alone in the archive, Nari searched through centuries of data. Then she found it, a sealed file marked Sunwoo Intervention Protocol. Using her advanced decryption skills, she opened the file. The information inside stunned her. According to these records, the Sunwoo had found early hominids on Earth and recognized their potential. Instead of following standard protocol and Leaving the primitive species to develop naturally, they had accelerated human evolution through careful genetic manipulation. They designed humans to adapt, Nari whispered. They created a species that thrives on change and chaos. More shocking was what happened next. The Galactic Council had discovered the Sunwoo's illegal experiment and punished them severely. The entire species was exiled to the Outer Rim, where they eventually died out. Earth was classified as contaminated, a cursed planet to be avoided. But the Sunwoo's creation surpassed expectations. Humans not only survived in their harsh environment, but developed technologies that approached those of much older species. Their unpredictable thinking processes solved problems that had stumped the galaxy's greatest minds. Nari sat back, mind racing. The Tekkens had always believed themselves superior because of their ordered, logical approach. But what if that very order was limiting them? She was still processing this information when the Academy's emergency alarms sounded. She rushed to the central hall where students were gathering. "What's happening?" she asked Hana. "The Academy's main reactor is malfunctioning," Hana explained, her face pale. "If it goes critical, half the continent could be affected." President Lee's voice came over the speakers. "All students proceed to evacuation points. This is not a drill." As the crowd moved toward the exits, Nari grabbed Hana's arm. "Wait, I just learned something important. Humans were designed to solve problems like this." "What are you talking about?" Hana looked confused. "There's no time to explain. We need to get to the reactor." Against all protocols, they slipped away from the evacuation and raced to the engineering section. They found Professor Park and several other faculty members trying desperately to stabilize the system. "The containment field is collapsing," one engineer said. "We can't stop it." "Let me try." Nari stepped forward. "I understand Tekken energy principles." She studied the reactor's design, quickly calculating the proper adjustments, but as she worked, she realized the standard approach wouldn't work. The system had been modified with human innovation she didn't understand. "Hana," she called, "I need your help. My Tekken precision and your human creativity. Together." What followed was unlike anything Nari had experienced. She handled the mathematical calculations while Hana suggested unconventional solutions. They worked in perfect harmony, two different ways of thinking, complementing each other. When the reactor finally stabilized, everyone stared at them in amazement. "How did you do that?" Professor Park asked. "We combined approaches," Nari explained. "Tech and precision with human adaptability." Later, alone in their room, Nari told Hana what she had discovered about human origins. "So we're basically a genetic experiment?" Hana sounded hurt. "You're the experiment that worked too well," Nari said. The Sunwoo wanted to create adaptability. They succeeded beyond their imagining. That night, Nari recorded her final message to Director Doyen. "I came to Earth believing I would need to dumb up to fit in with humans. I was wrong. Their different thinking isn't inferior. It's exactly what our people need. The Tekken way is precise and orderly, but progress requires both stability and chaos. I'm not becoming less intelligent by learning human ways. I'm becoming complete." She paused, then added, "This cursed galaxy isn't cursed at all. It's where the future of galactic civilization will be born, through cooperation between different kinds of minds."